Well, I started making films when I was quite young, actually. I was in high school, and we were actually environmental activists trying to stop the spraying of the pesticide 2,4-D in our community. And we discovered that we were holding community forums, and we discovered that a way to get our message out even further was to actually videotape the message, and thus we could reach more people. And so we actually ended up, as a group, setting up a local community cable station, which is actually still running to this day. And that kind of launched me as a media activist. Occupy Love captures that amazing time in history in the year 2011 when this global uprising began, starting with the Arab Spring, spreading to the Indignado movement in Spain, and jumping across the Atlantic to North America with the Occupy Wall Street movement. And it continues to the Alberta tar sands and covers the climate justice movement and connects the dots between these movements that are arising from the bottom up, that are not the same as the old movements. They're often driven by social media, and they connect issues across different areas. So it's really an exciting film about a time in history where change is happening once again, where there's a feeling of activism and transformation in the air as a result of an ever-increasing global crisis that's taking the form of climate change and economic exploitation. I mean, I'm motivated there's several motivations for me. There's a social conscience that I have. I want to change the world. I want to make the world a better place. I see this time in history as a very critical time. The next 10 to 20 years, we're going to be determining the fate of the future of humankind. I actually believe that. We're at a crossroads. So I want to do everything I can to try to tip the balance towards a positive future. So that's part of it. There's also part of me that I see film as a form of creative expression, artistic. I have an artistic drive, and that also inspires me. And so my films are never just straightforward information, fact, whatever. They also have an artistic level to them as well. But I also believe that you reach people in a deeper place when there's creativity and artfulness in your films. And documentary, because I think documentaries is an incredibly powerful way of getting important messages out. And a documentary film can become a platform that other people can use, community groups can use, the community can use to raise awareness. I think that, for example, the issue of climate change, various issues have been totally brought to the public consciousness through documentary films. So for me, it's what I'm good at, and it's what I can offer, and it's a great way to combine my gifts and a sense of being in service to the world. I think for anybody, whatever your gifts are, if you bring those gifts in alignment with something that can be of service, that's where you're going to find a deep sense of meaning and a way to be to make an offering to the world. Art and politics go together. They're essential, an essential combination. Politics by itself can sometimes be overly didactic, can be polarizing, can be isolating, but art brings in the heart. And I think that when we I think heart and politics is essential too. Heart, art, and politics, I would say. So for me, it's just a natural combination. It's a way of getting inside and expressing what's really going on below the surface, below the headlines. We can get the news from reading newspapers, although it'll be a skewed news. But in order to connect the dots, we need to create a story. We need to create a narrative, because humans are story-making creatures. And so an artist will connect the dots, will create the story and paint it in many hues and colors. And in film, we have the dimensions of sound and visual and words. So it's multidimensional. So it's beautifully suited to expressing politics. Well, we're the team that made Occupy Love. It's 3 producers: Nova, me, Ian McKenzie, and myself. And we're working towards a new project that's in development, very early, but it's looking at how do we create the more beautiful world that we know in our hearts is possible. It's a solution-oriented film. It's leading out of Occupy Love and going to the next step. And we're looking at people who are living the change around the world. Who are the stories of people who are actually creating a new story, living a new paradigm that's sustainable, that's restorative, that's just, and that's also creative. What does that look like in real time, in the real world? So we'll be looking for those kind of stories of possibility. What could a world look like? Then what could that world that we dream of? What is actually being lived by people right now? So that's the next film. Well, yes, I would. I think that there's increasingly we're seeing films are being created with crowdfunding and released with crowdsourcing. So I think that in Canada could expand something that's now happening in the States, which is crowdsourced theatrical releasing, where you have films that can show in movie theaters, and you can actually online fill up that theater with people so that you know that you've got a full house. So you actually have almost like a mini crowdfunding campaign for every screening. We did that in the States. It hasn't come to Canada yet. I think that would be that idea is ready to happen here. I think it's actually very critical and very important work in getting films out there and giving the community easy access to films and curating a selection of great films and spreading the word about them. The Divine Interventions series that I'm part of is brilliant. I haven't actually seen anyone do a curated program like that before, so I think that's really cutting edge, bringing together spirituality and politics. That's not done so much. So I think Cinema Politica is on the leading edge in that way. The fact that it's spreading and it's international now, I think is really amazing. I had my screening of Occupy Love Concordia as part of RIDM, sponsored by Cinema Politica, in a full house, and there's an engagement in the audience that you don't necessarily find at most festival screenings, and that was because Cinema Politica was behind it. So I think they really have taken what we documentary filmmakers offer, which is a film on an issue that can help create change, and really brought it to the next level, got it out to the community. So I'm all for Cinema Politica.